Good morning simulation class. You're getting two videos. One is just a little bit of a pep talk that I had to give my in-person class. I thought maybe you guys could benefit from it. Um, it's a little bit of my morning rant, maybe, but it wasn't really a rant. I was drinking coffee and trying to wake up. Had business simulation last night and started at 5:30, and I left school at 11. 25 students. So if you guys are struggling, you'll probably appreciate where they were struggling on their first day as well. So with that being said, I am going to go in and explain just a couple of things with where we're currently at. So your simulation that you're working on, you can kind of work at your own pace right now. I don't want you to not do something, and I don't want you to work too far ahead because I don't want you to forget how to do anything. So I have it stopping every 2 rounds, and you should be able to go back in and work on rounds 3 and 4. You can still finish up round 2 if you have not yet. So I'm just going to go into the balance scorecard and just show you where everybody's at from a balance scorecard perspective. So Amber, we got to get you out there and work on rounds 1 and 2. A couple of people, I know Dylan's waiting for a response from me, so we're going to look at Dylan's today for round 2, but keep working on that. So for the rest of you, you can start working on 3 and 4 and work through that. A couple of things that I see, you can see kind of a range of different points, and certainly the totals are going to be all over the board, but we have a couple of people that are doing pretty well and actually got into round 3 already, so working ahead. So let me take a look at the balance scorecard here, and as we're looking at the balance scorecard, you can see some different things for different people. So right now, learning and growth and turnover here, employee productivity, you're going to see that that employee productivity is one of those things that not any points on. So employee productivity is the improvement of your workforce efficiency due to recruiting expenditure, training hours, quality function, and TQM. So once we get into round 4, you can start investing in TQM, and I'm going to show you a little bit about that in a minute here, but that will start impacting those numbers a little bit better, so this total will go up once TQM is possible. But your employee productivity is impacted by the amount of recruiting expenditure and training hours that you have. You find that the balance scorecard, different than our initial look at where we were at, gives you a better balance. So contribution margin is just one piece of the whole picture, right? And this is what you're being scored on. So if you don't get contribution margin, you could still be successful in other points. In this case, I don't even remember what group I'm in. This person, I think it was Allen. Oh, it was Allen Industries. Okay. Had 20 out of 25 in internal business processes. That's huge. That's a huge strength. Customer buying criteria, 19 out of 25, also really good. Accessibility is the only, well, accessibility and buying criteria. Buying criteria is tough, and people tend to struggle in that area. But customer accessibility is how easy it is for your people to purchase your products. It's the strength of your distribution channels, and so when you think about what you're investing in sales, that is going to be your customer accessibility piece. Okay, so that's what impacts it. That's the lever that impacts it. And then customer buying criteria is really fitting into either the low tech or the high tech. Okay. Then looking at your financial piece, again, sometimes it's hard for people to have a good stock price or good leverage. I think with how well you're doing from a overall stock perspective, this contribution margin is going to start to move. So definitely this is a really great balance scorecard. So lots of things going on here. And I'm looking at the rest of your numbers, and there really isn't anyone struggling too bad here. I think this is Tanner. Yeah, okay, so looking at this one, employee productivity, again, a little bit low here. So this is an area where if you invest in training and you invest in recruitment, these numbers will improve a little bit here. So that's a tip to improve that number. Again, your financials, you've got leverage, you've got profits, you've got stocks, so you're hitting some of the numbers, just not enough. So you're on your way. I would definitely take a look at maybe what are some of the changes that you made from round 1 to round 2 that caused a little bit of the dip, but I think you can write that course. So just kind of take a pause and take a look at that. And then days of working capital just means that you don't have a lot of extra cash on hand. Okay, stack out carrying costs meant that you must have stacked out at maybe in something, but your inventory carrying cost is perfect because you didn't have any inventory. So that's kind of what that looks like here. So sometimes it's hard to have both. Stack out costs being like not stacking out, and then also having not any inventory or not too much inventory to hit both of those. There's a fine balance there. So if you look at this, each area outside of learning and growth is pretty well balanced. Definitely internal business processes is probably the one with the most growth. Customer accessibility, again, looking at awareness and accessibility is all based on how much you're putting into your sales budget and also into your the sales and marketing. I'll get into it in a minute because my brain is so fried from being up so late last night. So you can take a look at your balanced scorecard, but this is really where those points are coming from, and this is how that final exam is going to get graded. It's just not on like the couple things that you did in the practice round. It's on everything that you're working on. Okay, so definitely really good improvements here. Come round 4, you're going to have TQM, and definitely going to want to read up on the TQM so you know what to be doing there. So Dylan asked me if I take a look and give him some tips on where he's at. So we're going to take a look at Dylan's, and I'm going to walk through it because I think what I do for Dylan will give you a little bit of an idea of maybe some things that you can look at on yours too. Okay, and if you are interested, certainly shoot me a message and I can pull that up as well. So Foundation Fast Track tells me that Dylan is at 32% contribution margin, which is great because if you look across your competition, not very many people are there, right? Cumulative profit of $6 million. Again, he's kind of leading his industry with $6 million, and then 51 over sales. So these are really his first round, very, very solid, definitely very solid. So I'm going to go down and look at a couple of things here. So he has one new product that he established. Material cost is at $13.25. Labor cost is at $10.60. So your contribution margin is at 33%. For that product. So 33% contribution margin on your first product is a really good, strong contribution margin. And then you can also look at this one should be ready next year. So you should be all set to go. Your MTBF, so this is a low tech. Your MTBF is probably a little high. So when I look at low tech here, if your reliability is a 3 or a 4, this isn't one of the #1 buying criteria, so you can bring that number down. You have your MTBF at 21. It can come down to 19. And if you look at your other competitors, they're at 19.8, 18, 17.5. Definitely you can make some adjustments there. So being at 21 might not be where you want to be. Okay. And then looking at your low-tech buying criteria, again, price is the most important thing. Making sure that it's between 5.3 and 5.3 and 14.7. So this is kind of like the ideal sweet spot for the position. But position for low-tech doesn't really matter. So don't spend a lot of time on your low-tech because it's one of the last buying criteria, right? Understanding that your growth is about 10%. I look at Able, you stacked out, so you ran out of product. I'm going to go ahead and look at where you are from a customer survey. You're at 20. So your product, you were at 944. You might have sold as much as 1,000 that round because your customer survey shows that you're right up there with Baker. You just ran out of product. So if I look at 944 with a 10% growth, That's 94. So without with just industry growth, you should probably be at making it about 1,000 just for low tech. But now I'm going to look at high tech and see where you fall in high tech. And Able sold 430 in high tech, and you're right about that area. So I don't know that you would sell too much more than that, but it grows at a 20%. So you might grow another 80, right? 430. So that would be about 510 that you sold in the high tech segment and 1,038 in the low tech. So that takes you right around 1,550 without taking any additional market share. So if you want to take market share, then for your forecast, you'd want to increase that a little. The other thing I'm going to take a look at, drinking my coffee and my collagen so I can move today. You want to look at about how much is everybody selling. So everybody's selling currently right about close to 500 in that market, because you're going to be introducing probably a high-tech product. And if they're selling 500, you need to forecast it. So I would use 500 as a benchmark with a 20% growth, which would give you about 600 potentially units for your high tech, if that's what you have here and you don't have too low tech. So I'm going to go ahead in my research and design and take a look at Dylan's and see where he's at. Okay, so 3 products might be a lot because one of the things that I want to point out to you as you're doing this is your research and design. Anything that's over $1 million gets pushed out to the next year. So you don't want to have much more than $1 million because you can't change your product. So like this one still has $533, $533,000 still to spend. So next year you're not even going to get the improvements for both of those. So you're probably going to have to step back a little bit on your research and design if this is where you're going to put it for this round, because $3 million is 3 years worth of improvements. And your low tech Able, you want to have it at a 3-year age. That is actually one of the most important. Age is one of the more important things. So being at 3 years old, and your Able is at 1.5. So changing too much of this might not be good. So where were you? You are at 14 and probably a 5 something. So I might take this back to a 14 because you can't change everything all the time. You don't have money. You're going to need to raise money to be able to spend this money. So it concerns me a little bit that we're making that many changes. So I'm going to do maybe F5. It'll fix it for me because I don't know. I'm not doing my math. Alright, that's about where you were at. It'll fix it, but that reduces that spend a little bit because you really don't want to be. No, and then this needs to go down to. I think this is going to increase your spend if I change that. You need to bring that down though. I don't know how to I don't know where you were before to eliminate this, but I can tell where you were before. I can tell. Because I don't want that $289. All I want is the revision date changed on there. So Able, the position was 5.4 and 14. Okay, so the only cost I'm spending on Able this time around, because you're right in the middle, and that is perfect, is 80. Because we need to get this down a little bit, at least to 2 million, so that you can adjust some of your products next round too. So we're in a little bit of a bind here with having too much. And once you put one in, it doesn't let you take it out. Pretty sure you're just stuck with it. So the only other thing that we could do is, I think, undo to the start of round. I'm just going to do this for you right now so we can just take a look at this. I won't save any of my decisions. Okay, so, ooh, this is so much better. So Dylan, I'm fixing this for you so you see. So if you go to undo to the start of the round, you can undo this if you add another product. So now I have the ability to make a few changes to Able. Ooh, and I'm going to recalculate. So this product piece this is an issue for sure. Now I'm going to want to bring, because A-Stats is coming in also as low tech, so I'm going to bring this Able down here. So I'm in the high tech category, but maybe not all the way into high tech yet. And because Able's going to be probably a little bit more high tech, maybe I'll do this and increase the, I shouldn't change the cost too much. Okay. All right, and now I'm going to bring Able down. So it'll fix it. Okay, so this is really where I'd want Able to be, but you're over again, so now you're not going to be able to change Able next round, but you are going to be able to change A down to move it down a little bit. So that's a pretty significant movement. But this is kind of where I think you want to be, because you want to be differentiated between the two. So this is, I would not spend more than this, because you're not going to be able to touch Able next round because of where you're at. But it's in a pretty good place that as this starts to move, you should still be in that second bubble. I would not, I don't think I would bring in the third product yet, primarily because of how much you're spending on this research. And you're going to have to always spend money on research to move these along. And you have to raise funds for it, and I don't want you to find yourself in a bad spot. So with that, then you can go ahead and take a look at your marketing. And I'm just taking a look at Dylan's right now to see what we can do from a contribution margin perspective and what we can do for sales. So I estimated my forecast before when I looked at the Foundation Fast Track, and this is a rough estimate. Some of this is guess, so I'm going to do that. My price, because A is a low tech price, I'm going to keep this maybe at about $30, because you're pretty high up there. Ooh, not 300. Actually 29. Because you're pretty, if I go back, you're kind of on the high end of low tech. So you're way up here, and that's going to kind of move out, and I don't think you want to be too expensive where you're at. And you're only spending $10, so even if you can get 30, that contribution margin is pretty good. So your promo budget, that I don't really have any problem with a promo budget of $1,500. Let's promo this one because it's a new product. This is not good. So if you look at these little eyes in here, it tells you like the most that you can do is 4.5, and then you start losing benefit. But this is combined between two, so you don't want one at 4.5. Think about 1 million adds 7% to your ease of doing business. 2 million adds 22%. 3 million adds 32%. 4.5 is only 35%. So you're not going to get that much of a difference between the two, and it's cumulative. Plus, you're spending money on this. So adjust accordingly after this, but now you've got, if I recalculate this, you've got 3 million here. So you're still spending quite a bit on sales. You can adjust this total to be 4.5 million. So if you feel like you have enough money, you can certainly increase this, but you don't want to increase it too much. Same with the promotion budget. 1 million will yield you 62% at the end of the year. 2 million will get you to 85% awareness. 3 million would yield you 89. So you only get a 4% increase over 2 million. So you wouldn't want this much over 2. These are individual for the promotion, and your sales is a cumulative as you're looking at this. All right, so now I'm going to go into your production. So you only have 100 made here. And my caution here is this is the max that you can invest. So capital expenditures are limited to the amount of money that can be raised through stock and bond issue plus excess working capital. The sum of your max stock issue, max bond issue, and working capital minus 90% of sales. So if you invest into this number, you need to sell stock and get more money in order to invest this. You need to raise the funds. So this is going to be hard because right now our forecast is 600 and the most that you can make is 200. So that's the best that we can do here. And in here, I can go ahead and do recalculate. So you're not going to have enough for this guy. He needs some investment here. So we're going to have to invest in making some production so that you have some next round so that you can meet your demand for that. And I was estimating this on a high tech, but it's actually a low tech. So you're probably going to be even higher, but this round it doesn't matter. I'm going to go back to, because you really need to see where you're going to be at. Gosh, I can make 200 and I only get 93. That stinks. So you're not, yeah, so you're going to lose money on this. So I'm not sure that I'm going to spend any money on promotion on that because you're not making any money. So don't promote it because you don't have enough to sell. You just don't have enough to sell, sadly. Okay, so in the decisions then, I'm going to go to production again. And this is your low tech, this is going to be your kind of highish tech. So eventually, I'm producing 200, but with not producing as much, there is an adjustment. So time away from work, that kind of stuff, will impact your adjustment after schedule, and so you're only making 93 units. So that's all you got. And I can't do more than 200 because you only have 100 for ship capacity. So if I did 300, it will red it out, I think. Yep. So your capacity for production is only 93. That's the max that you can make, given what you have. So 200 it is. Okay. So that's going to. So now you need to get $3 million because you just spent $3 million. So you need to earn that $3 million someplace. Ideally, you'd like to also automate this, but I don't know that will. I think that might be too expensive this round. All right, that looks good. So also one of the things that you're being measured on is your recruiting spend and your number of training hours. So that is part of it. Your recruiting spend, I just want to look at the base amount of 1,000 per new employee. So 0 means no extraordinary effort. Diminishing returns comes after 5,000. So you don't want to do more than $5,000 per recruitment. So I'm going to do $1,000 there. Okay. So now we're in a little bit of a different spot, but know that I need to find $4,600 here. So now I'm going to go to my finance tab. And I show that I have money, so I have some cash. So I'm not too worried, My long-term debt is at 35. It doesn't appear that I borrowed any money. Your stock price is 17. The max issue stock is 6,000. So you're investing, you could do this and give yourself a little bit more money to make sure that you don't run into any issues. And you can certainly retire stock each round if you find that you're in a good financial position. So because you're investing in the company, by doing this and issuing $3 million in stocks, this is covering your production here, some of that money. So that's helping you build some of that production and increase your automation. You want A-Stab because it's low tech to be pretty automated, but you can't change it too quickly because of the cost. So that's what I would do. So I hope that helps, Dylan. Went through some of those decisions, and you can watch this, and I'm not going to save it because I want you to be able to make your own decisions on here. You can certainly do what I recommended, but to clear out your extra product, if you don't want that, just do undo to start over. All right, if you need anything else, let me know.